Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Marketing Mingle, presented by the Career Center and the Marketing Society. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have a really excellent audience accompanied by a really excellent group of industry professionals and alumni who are here to speak with you. One form is a keynote where you're going to learn a little bit about the marketing industry as a whole from Sam Moses representing Klarna, who's going to take the floor and talk with you a little bit today, as well as several industry professionals, including Sam, who you are able to network with in the breakout sessions that are going to follow the keynote. So I'm very happy that everybody's here, but without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Moses so that he could take the floor and begin the keynote. Sam, go right ahead.
How's everyone doing? All right, I feel at home. You guys can answer, like it's totally fine. Like I'm cool with that.
Hold on, Sam. How's your day been today?
It's been really good. What's with that background though?
Oh yeah, I had an interview for the Gap, so I thought San Francisco was appropriate.
See guys, if you want to impress retailers and you want to impress employers, personalize. SJ as well there. So I guess like how many of you guys know me? I know SJ knows me. Don't know how many of you guys, anyone that was in athletics past couple of years? All right, so I came to YU about a couple years back. I graduated in 2017. The past 2 years I was on campus. I was an assistant coach for the baseball team. So really expecting a good season this year. We got some good reps from the team here. So I'm really excited to be with you guys. Like Matthew said, I'm with Klarna. How many people here are familiar with Klarna? Two or three people? All right. So in case you guys don't know who Klarna is, we're one of the most innovative companies in the world. I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but I'll also tell you a little bit more about my journey, about how everything, I guess, like happened for me. So my background with, I guess like when I first started college, I was really, I would say like most people looking around, what am I going to do with my life? I came from a small city. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, really small city. A lot of people there were working in the healthcare field. They were working in law. They were working as professors, as well as like some more traditional blue collar jobs. And I wasn't really exposed to anything in the business world. If you tell me something about marketing, I'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, just because to me, like that was a completely different world. And I grew up like, I guess I was a pretty creative child. Like I have an identical twin brother. We were always doing stuff together. We were always creating stuff. We played a lot of Lego, just played a lot of sports growing up. And we were just like always like making up games, like just doing a lot. So like as a kid, I kind of knew like I wanted to go into business. And going to high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do still. So I went to Israel for a year and a half, went to Mivaseret, in case any of you guys went there, if you guys are familiar with there. Really learned a lot. And when I was there, I was talking with some of the rabbis there and they said, hey, you should go into accounting. I'm like, great, accounting, love it. What's accounting? So I had no idea what accounting was. And I think like most students in that position, they just, you're not exposed to it unless you like, you know someone that works in the industry. And I didn't know anyone that was an accountant. So to me, I thought you had to be good at math. I thought you had to do all that. So when I started at YU, I started as an accounting major. Get to my junior year and I kind of realized, hey, I like accounting. This is really interesting, but I'm going to be bored to death if I do this. Like, I feel like a lot of people who go into the marketing field are more so on the creative side. Accountants, I would say, are creative in a different way, not the way that I really wanted to express my creativity. So like any good student, I kind of had like a little bit of soul searching, talked to a lot of friends. They said, hey, you should go into BIMA. You're analytical, you're good with those numbers and stuff. I get into that class and I didn't realize it's computer science. But the good thing was I got exposed to marketing for the first time. I took some classes on buyer behavior. I don't know if you guys still have them here, but when I was in YU, this goes back to 2016. There's a professor, his name was Jesse Itzkowitz. And this guy, I would say, is like an absolute legend. He taught me about buyer behavior. And essentially what buyer behavior is, why do people do what they do? And I think when you're looking at marketing and you're looking at speaking to people, you're presenting your brand, you're presenting your image. Now, the whole point of marketing, at least in my opinion, is to get people to change their actions. So you might be marketing for a company that sells a product, like maybe they sell iPhones, you're working for Apple. Maybe they're an organization where they're looking to get people to donate money to them. Like maybe you're working for a school. Maybe you're working for a company that sells pizza. But in every single situation, you want to engage with people, you want to build an audience, and you want to interact with them. But to really understand why people do that and why they will engage with you, you really need to understand why they do things in the first place. So that was really my first exposure to that. And I would say it was really, really enlightening to me. And I just like kind of said, like, this is really cool. But at the time I said, I want to go into finance. And I was like really just kind of like exploring marketing. And like I took a couple classes. I took a social media class. And like there are things about marketing that like they interested me, but I wasn't so interested in it at the time. So right out of college, I got a job with Israel Bonds. I worked in their sales office. If any of you guys have ever done sales, really interesting to do. Talk to 200 people a day, tell them, hey, you got a bond expiring. What do you want to do with it? So this was my first time like really interacting with people on that mass scale. And I loved it. I had a great time. But really early on, I realized Israel Bonds, great opportunity, just didn't have a job for me. So I had to go back on the hunt. And this is kind of where I would say like my career path is not the typical career path of most people. So I got a job as a stockbroker on Wall Street. Have anyone seen Wolf of Wall Street? Just SJ? So that was what my office was like. That was literally what my life was. Cold calling 24/7, working 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., literally cold calling people, asking them to open accounts with me. I was pitching this great stock at a time. I don't know if you've ever heard of AMD. So I was selling AMD for $9 a share in it was late 2017. And I mean, if I would have bought more stock, maybe I'm in a different place in my life, but it was a really good job. But the problem to me was I didn't really feel like it was what I wanted to do. And like, I'm the type of person, like, I think you can kind of get like this idea, like I really want to do something that I enjoy, something that's like really ethical to me. And being a stockbroker, some of the things you go through, not the most ethical, especially the company I was at. Just if a stockbroker ever cold calls you, make sure to like check their credentials. That's all I say. So I then quit, and it was really amazing to me. It was the first time I like really took a big leap of faith, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna get this figured out. But I knew I liked to sell. I knew I liked to help people. And to me, I really was interested in going through that. And I got a job at this ad tech company. So who here is familiar with what ad tech is? And like, you guys can turn on your microphones. Like, I'm totally cool with that. Or put in the chat, who knows what ad tech is? Guys, you don't know what ad tech is? I'd call Facebook ad tech. I'd call Google ad tech. Ad tech is technology that helps people advertise to other people. So I got a job at an ad tech company. My company, we put ads in emails. Email is cool. Not really, but it gets the job done. People reach a ton of people over email. Everyone has an email account. And my company, we would work with the biggest publishers like the New York Times, CBS, NBC, like literally the biggest companies. And we'd work with a lot of interesting like startups, like a lot of retailers, a lot of fashion companies, a lot of insurance companies. Like I was working with Domino's at one point, Google at one point, like Home Depot at one point, like literally the retailers, you name the retailer, I was working with them. And what I really learned from that was how different companies market themselves and how they advertise themselves. And really, I would say like being in that field and being in that position really made me understand how people really just understand how to sell, like, and how they like structure their brand. So when talking to a lot of companies, like I kind of got to dig into their campaigns because there's so much that goes into a marketing campaign. I was working on the digital media side. So what my company did, and I'm going to throw out a word there, maybe some of you are familiar with this, maybe some of you aren't. We worked with companies to sell ads programmatically. If you guys are familiar with programmatic advertising, great. If you're not, look it up. So essentially what that does is companies can use what's called a DSP, demand side platform, and then they can plug into different sources of media. So they can plug into our source of media, they can plug into Google, they can plug into various other different sellers, and they can just go straight into whatever. They can buy like 1 million different like ads across like multiple platforms. Really cool, really interesting. I got to meet a lot of people on the agency side, and like I started learning about the marketing ecosystem. So a lot of companies, they have their own in-house team, and then a lot of them will work with agencies. So your traditional like CPG company, consumer packaging company, like someone like a Campbell's Soup or a Procter and Gamble, those teams generally have an agency doing all their work. So that's the creative, that is writing the copy, that is literally coming up with the designs for the campaign. They send it off to what's called a brand manager. The brand manager says, I like it, I don't like it, and then they're good to go. But marketers are doing like a lot more. So like someone like a Domino's Pizza, they're coming up with different products, different menu items. It's like really interesting. Like when you dig into like working with these different people, you got to really understand what marketing is and the different ways that it's presented, like in the actual work field. So working at Live Intent, got to learn a lot about the industry. And I got a call from Klarna like about a year and a half into my time there. And what they said kind of like really attracted me. So what really pulled me into Klarna was, I would say, the brand itself. So as you can see, I'm wearing this. I got one big compliment from SJ. He's a big fan. But we're different. We're really different. We're a bank, but we're also really, really consumer friendly. So we're trying to think about like how to brand ourselves and like how to really come across to our consumers in very different ways. So like if you think about like the traditional banks, the traditional like financing companies, like someone like a Visa, a MasterCard, they're very, very different in how they present themselves to their brands. And we really understood that they're younger consumers. They have a different aversion to credit. Like everything is very, very different for them. And younger consumers like yourself, you guys are not interested in the same ways. Like you guys are not on the same platforms and same channels that you go back 20 years ago, people were on. 20 years ago, you put an ad in a newspaper. How many of you guys picked up a newspaper in the last, call it month, call it year? Okay, 2 people, 4 people, 5 people. So I'm just saying, like, it's very different. Like you guys are more into like the digital media, like Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. So just the way that you communicate, it's very, very different. So what we did was when we created this brand, we looked at like, how can we present ourselves like very differently? So I'll show you like a quick screen share just to show you kind of like what one of those was. So this is a campaign we did to kick off in the US. So it's just different.
We can't really hear it if we're supposed to. Sorry.
You guys can't hear it? All right, so we're doing a campaign with Snoop Dogg. It's just like very different. You can kind of see like the colors. You can kind of see like what people are wearing, how like he's walking, like literally all the details that are going into it. And it's just one of these things where it's just different. So what he did was he changed his name from Snoop Dogg to Smooth Dog. And essentially our company's tagline is we want to make shopping smooth. And what we really saw was that this was a really, really, really good way to introduce ourselves to the US market. So we also did a campaign with, this is also one of my favorite campaigns, where we're just thinking about our brand like very differently. So we did a sneaker giveaway. The way to sign up, you have to put your hand to like your phone sensor. And like, it says how much you love this. And the faster your heart beats for the sneaker, you would win it. Like you would win that. So it's an international campaign. It was really, really cool, really well done, executed. But again, it's just like we're thinking about how are we going to reach a younger consumer? And that's another way that we thought about it. So again, you can kind of see like it's very colorful, it's very different, it's flashy. It has like, I don't know if you guys can hear the music, but it's just like, it's very different. And then this is the last one where this is something we did recently. So it's called Playing for Keeps. So we partnered with some gamers. I don't know how many of you are gamers, but if you recognize these people, we partnered with them. And they had these giveaways where they had like the different merchandise there. So like we were giving away like a laptop, like Nintendo PSPs. Like we partnered with a ton of different merchants like GameStop, Bose, Fender. And like if you beat the gamers, you'd win their gear. So just when like thinking about like how we're creating that brand, it's really different. It stands out to a younger consumer. And a lot of the thought that goes behind it is just, we're trying to be different. We're thinking about who our end customer is, and we're trying to create an experience that really speaks to them. So someone who's an older shopper, maybe this doesn't appeal to them, but we're not trying to appeal to them. We're trying to appeal to the younger customer. So that's kind of like, I guess, my background, and also like some of the different things in marketing. There's a lot of different roles that come into marketing. Like I think just in terms of when you look at traditional marketing spaces, I know a lot of people go into agency life, they work for brands, but there's a lot of different things that you can do with them. You can do creative work, you can do the actual campaigns where you're putting together the campaign, you're planning it. You can do the buying where you're figuring out where are we actually going to show this campaign. And then you can do digital, you can do out of home. You could work at a tech company that works with advertisers, or you can work with a publisher and manage some of their accounts that they have coming in. So it's just like, there's a lot of different things that you can do in marketing. It's, I think like one of the things like going to YU, a lot of people aren't exposed to it, but I just think like given my background and given like some of the brands I work with, really I got an exposure to a lot of the different sides of marketing and a lot of what goes into it. So if you guys have any questions, just like feel free to ping the chat. I know you guys are like super excited for Zoom calls. I know how often you guys are on them. So the thing is like, I think where I want to kind of transition this is because I know like a lot of you guys are thinking about what can I do to like really stand out to an employer? SJ, what's up? I see you have your hand raised.
First of all, I just want to thank you for taking the time to speak to us. I know you're, obviously very busy, so it's appreciated. I wanted to get your thoughts on an idea I've heard for a while throughout college, just to get your opinion on it as someone who's already been in the workforce for a while and has had experience. So I've always been very pro-like and proud of my major in marketing because it allows me to be creative and it allows me to use skills that I wouldn't be able to use as much in, accounting or finance. However, I've heard from, different people over the years that they say, yeah, like marketing and management, they're creative majors, but they're not as stable and they're not as lucrative. So they those people have advised to major in finance or accounting. So what are your thoughts on that sentiment?
At the end of the day, what makes you happy? Best advice I ever got in my life, find something you love and do it. If you're going to go into finance and you're not going to be happy, don't do it. You're going to you spend most of your day at work. Like I've put in 12-hour days and work pretty regularly. And that's more my choice. But like, if you're going to be doing something for a big portion of your waking time, enjoy it. And I don't think necessarily like focus on the money early on. Yes, you can make a lot of money in marketing. You can make a lot of money in management. If you work at the right company, doing the right things, you'll get taken care of. I think it's just more find something you're passionate about and do it.
Thank you.
And I think also like when you're looking into like going into this stuff and you're like looking at the different roles, a lot of what you can do to like really stand out from other people is just put yourself out there, like even before. Like marketing is the one thing where you can have a resume even before you even set foot in a company. And one of the best ways you can do this is social media. You can really just run your own social media account. You become an influencer. People get paid as influencers. I was talking with, what's her name? Has anyone heard of Emma Chamberlain? So I was literally talking with her brand today. Emma's 18. She has 11 million followers on Instagram. She has like close to 10 million subscribers on YouTube. It's very easy in these days to put together a brand, and employers look at that, especially if you're going into a social media side where people will kind of see, okay, what's the portfolio that people did? Like people used to put together like different like drawings back in like the 50s. I don't know if any of you seen Mad Men, but people were like literally just like, here's their sketchbook and here's their copy that they were creating. And marketing is like one of those fields that it's really easy to do that, where you can go put together your own portfolio. So like run a social media account. Maybe it's your own account. Maybe it's your dog's account. I don't know. Maybe it's your favorite restaurant's account, or maybe it's just like about food or something you're passionate about. But it's like really easy to create a brand for yourself. And when you go to companies and when you talk to them, you can say like, yes, I built a brand. Here's kind of how I went about like attracting an audience. Here's what the content I put together. Here's like some of the things that I did that worked. Here's some of the things I didn't do that work. And you'll learn a ton. And I think it's just like being in this age, it's really easy to do. Yes, it's hard to actually get started and to be consistent. I think that's the tough part, but to get started, it's not so hard. And the second thing is I work with a ton of retailers. Like the easiest thing I'll say, especially if you want to work at a brand and you are interested in any bit in commerce, like retail, e-commerce is huge. I guess, I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the news, but if you're familiar with a company like Shopify or like a company like Chewy, or every single one of these digital first retailers, they're seeing crazy, crazy, crazy returns. Like in the stock market, all of them are going up. And a lot of that is because e-commerce is huge and it's not hard to create a brand. I would say like for most people, you can go on this company, it's called Shopify. You can create an account really cheap. You can put together products. You don't even have to sell the products. You don't even have to create the products. You can drop ship them. And just creating that brand and driving customers to your site. You get to do so much of what a marketer does. You get to stylize your site. That's really important. It's really important to like figure out like the store, how it's set up, and how to make it easier for the customers to make a purchase. So I would say like from that standpoint, it's like really easy to do. And I think like a lot of people, they don't do it because it's not easy to be consistent. But also it's one of these things like if I'm an employer and I see that you're doing this and you're a college student, I would say like it's a really, really big thing that stands out to me. And I think like another thing is that I think that there's so much of a stigma on being in like a certain major to work in a certain field. I'm an accounting major and I probably know more about marketing than a lot of marketers do. That's because I work with them all day, but that's also because I read about this. And a lot of marketing is psychology, where it's like, it's consumer psychology, especially if you're more on like a retail side or like you're trying to understand like behavior patterns. I would say like, I don't know if, like what everyone's majoring in, but it might make sense to pick up a psych class or two, maybe to pick up a couple books on like marketing and psychology, consumer behavior. I just read this great book. It's called Why She Buys. My company, I would say like 75% of our customers are females. I want to understand why these people are purchasing because they're my customers. So I want to understand like what makes someone want to make a purchase and what makes someone not want to make a purchase. Why are people making a purchase? So I think psychology is like really important there. And then there's also so many courses that you can take, like Google, Facebook, like they all have ad platforms. If you're interested in learning how to buy and sell digital media or like run a campaign, get credentials on them. I'll throw out another company. It's called The Trade Desk. The Trade Desk is a digital media buying platform. they offer courses, and there's a couple others like Snapchat also. Like if you could understand how to buy Snapchat ads, it just makes it a lot easier for you to go to employer to say, I know this skill. I can do it really, really well. And I would say that also like Shopify as well. Like they have courses on this. Like if you ever want to run e-commerce, because I know a lot of people with marketing backgrounds go into e-commerce because it's figuring that out. So I would say like from that perspective, like those are all skills that you can learn. And I would say like they're really easier, I would say, to pick up, and it's not like so hard. So I think kind of in closing, what I would say is there's a lot that you can do. And like looking at the industry right now, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of positions out there. I would suggest like reach out to people. I think one of the benefits about being part of YU is we all went through the same thing as you guys are going through now. And we want to help you. We want to make sure like you guys are succeeding. So send a LinkedIn message to someone, maybe send an email to someone. If you guys like want to know how to figure out what people's emails are at companies, I can help you do that. There's a lot of great websites that you can do. Like for example, you type in whatever company you want, email format, and you can kind of figure it out from there. So it's just a good way to get in touch with people. And a lot of people, they're more than happy to pick up the phone, take 10, 15 minutes of their day and chat with you. And you can kind of learn like what they're doing, what they like about their job. So I think just from when you're looking at like the whole industry, yeah, I guess like COVID has really changed everything. But at the end of the day, like there's a lot that you can do to like really position yourself. And I would say like one of the benefits of, I would say, COVID is that marketers are way more valued because everyone's thinking about how do I get customers to go to my store online? Even Chipotle, Domino's, all these companies, they're starting to create like apps. Why? Because people are digital, they're not going out. So like if you can kind of think about like what companies' needs are and like what they're trying to do and like learn that stuff, it'll work. So I would say in closing, that's pretty much it from me. If you guys have any questions, more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, Matthew, do you want to take it from there?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Sam. I really appreciate the very engaging conversation. We're going to stop the recording and transition to the networking social. I'm going to share some directions in a bit.